something happened, and then they were like, oh, like, Kattapaga.
Well, welcome back to Marthoma Effect Word on the Street series. So, as we were talking about before, we have a very, very special guest, Annie K, and we were talking about, the vocation of religious life. So, in our previous episode, we were, talking about your journey and also about how, the challenges that you faced, especially in the initial stages, and how you kind of overcame those. So, if you haven't seen that, do go check it out. So now this question is a very, I guess it's more of a personal one for me, and it does bring me some happiness and some tears of just the whole process. So telling people, obviously, you talked about how at the start it was still a very, private and personal thing, as it should be, and obviously, you have to slowly start telling people and, letting the near and dear know first about, this is your calling and your vocation. And I'm sure, based on personal experience as well, it wasn't all happy and rainbows and skies. And yeah, do you want to share, how was it when you were telling your family and some of your friends?
Yeah, She said it was personal because
a lot of tears.
Your girl was down. But it was really hard because as much as I was like over the moon and giddy and skipped my step and everything and excited about starting this life finally and things like that, like knowing that it is definitely religious life and things like that. Yes, as much as I was excited about, really knowing that, it is religious life and things like that, it was that means that I gotta, like it says in the Bible, you gotta, die to yourself, take up your cross and go, right? So I gotta die to my life as I know it now and go, which means leaving behind, not ever, you're always gonna be, me, my family, you guys, always gonna be together, in love, but in our hearts, but physically we won't be together, at least for now. So those kind of things, it was really hard because especially first because a lot of people took it as a surprise, right? So then they're like, what? First you're going, it's religious life, and secondly it's what? You're you're leaving, or whatever. So yeah.
It was a journey. It really was a journey.
It was. And I think the hardest part was to actually let our families and friends know that it wasn't anything that they did. It's just that you just found your calling and you just gotta say yes to it, kind of thing,
Yeah, so even though it was really an emotional time for not just me, I'm sure everybody who found out, it was still, I guess, the other end of the spectrum was, you said yes, you finally said yes to what you were called for, your own calling, for the first time in probably your whole life, where you actually put yourself first. And for me to witness that it's beautiful to see, okay, she found her home, the way that Annie kind of spoke about, religious life and, where she wanted to go and just this whole process. You can see that spark in her eyes. So who are we to kind of be Annie, don't go, please stay with me. Who am I going to call? And I'm, sad. It felt selfish of me. So just definitely just seeing how Christ has definitely worked in her and just completely changed her as a person. It was just amazing to witness. So I can tell, although that it was a very difficult thing to actually tell people, and it wasn't easy. I think at the end of the day, you kind of mentioned, the grace that was visible and through Christ, where they got it, they will be fine, type of thing. That was also something that came out of this. So there was both the happiness and the sadness to it. One thing I also want to talk about, because we kind of talked about it a bit earlier, about how marriage is something that, you were praying for initially, and how, it's kind of more common in our culture and especially in our community. Just, you're in school, then you finish school, and then you go to uni or whatever pathway you choose, and then you're working, and then once you're working, it's the clock is ticking. So there's nothing else, time to get married, type of thing. So you obviously felt that, there was a bit of a struggle in that situation where, that wasn't your calling, but this was the only thing that was kind of put forward to you at that time. So what do you think our own community needs to really encourage this vocation? And we've talked about, the Come and See, which is available for people to, really discern all the different vocation types. So what do you think our community, and not just our own community, but, all the Catholic Church, around the world, not even just in Australia, what do you think we're lacking in a way, but what do you think we can, because there's only room for improvement at this point. So what do you think we need more of to really encourage this vocation?
Yeah, it's a really, really important question and a point, because, I think a lot of the times adults or parents who are listening to this right now, adults in general, we forget how much our words, our actions and our deeds have impact on young people or the future generation coming, So it's so important to, because, the way that our aunties and uncles, especially in our church, I can speak for the Syro-Malabar church here in Australia, that they kind of are, or they kind of do, is that it's like, okay, you set standard path, you follow that, and then things are going to be great, going to get married, have kids, great, raise them up, and then set and repeat, which is great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, and but the thing is, each and every one of us have our God's will for us, right, and our vocation, that we would be able to glorify God to the utmost level. And if we if as young people, if we're not even able to see that possibility in that vocation, there's actually a lot of, the calling is lost. There's Mangy would still love you anyway, and you'd still be able to glorify him in other ways, but to your utmost ability, you might not be able to glorify him and his kingdom. So I think my request, and I pray, is that, as a church, as a Syro-Malabar church, as a Catholic church altogether around the world, that we continue to empower our young people, the people who haven't discerned their vocation yet, whatever it may be, to really keep praying, God, let me know your will, so that they actually understand that it's not just that this one path that they have laid out for us, the parents and everyone, the society's laid out for us, but there is actually other ways where we might be able to be the best version of ourselves for God, and so that when we finally do that, it's kind of, it unlocks a different level, and it's like it's like a bonus level of closeness with God, So I really do encourage all of you guys to continue to pray with each other of your vocations, of whatever you're calling in, discerning everything that you do. And I know that we kind of talked about it earlier, but one of the things that in terms of prayers that helped me with my vocation discernment is Wisdom 9. So saying, not just saying it, but praying it every day, just thinking about, meditating on each of the words I'm saying helped, give me that wisdom to see what God's will is. And yeah.
Yeah, and I guess when you were talking about community as well, something that we could even do in our own churches is having, we're a community, so we have that, safe space where hopefully we can establish a safe space where, young people can just come together, openly have discussions about, vocations, and not just vocations, anything pretty much. Because I think, we have to be in it together to, support our brothers and sisters in Christ, to kind of grow, to become, strengthen ourselves in our faith as well. So I think something like that, even in your own, youth groups and your churches, giving that opportunity, because where there is no opportunity, it's you haven't opened that door yet. So definitely I think encourage that as well, like you were saying, and also personal prayer, the prayers obviously of our parents as well, very strong. So I think that kind of pretty much, we've been talking all about religious life, we've been talking about Annie and her personal life, about how, she was doing one thing, how she kind of, planned to go one way, but God kind of really roped her back in and be like, you're going the wrong way, girl. So we've kind of talked about it now. So I think, if you are listening, then you can kind of put 2 and 2 together, but I think it's only right that we hear it from Annie K. And Katticaran, what is your vocation?
Well, Manji willing, I desire to be a religious sister.
Ooh. And to be a religious sister, where did you feel at home? Like, where was your calling towards?
Yeah, there's this beautiful convent in the wild town. In the country of India.
Swandam
Nadu, God's own country, Kerala. In Changnasheri, it's a little town called Kundandanam. There are these sisters called Little Servants of Divine Providence. And I really do feel called to be part of the community there. These sisters are truly, to the word, rely completely on God's providence in everything that they do, say, and think. Mm-hmm. And they take care of kids, from babies to Apachimara, which is great.
And you went there as well.
Yeah. I mean, I ended up, that's why I love it even more. I went and discerned. I actually didn't go there to discern joining. I just went to see what Syro-Malabar sisters are like, what their lives are like. And I was there for a month last year. And they take care of kids from babies to Apachimara who are physically and mentally disabled. Mm-hmm. So it's amazing because they have nothing, but there's so much joy and love. Like, it's crazy. Like, it's just, if any of you guys come to Changnasheri, to India, come see these kids, because your life will be different after that, mm-hmm. Whatever your vocation is, and so it's that's where I'm going.
India, huh?
Yeah.
That means you won't be in Australia for much longer.
Yes, for now.
For now, yes.
Manji willing.
Manji
be back, who knows?
She'll be here. But yeah, so you've said yes to this beautiful vocation, and such a beautiful, I think, where you'll feel so blessed and grateful, dedicating your life of service to God. So the next question is, so we found out your calling, you've told us where. The next question is, when? When are you leaving Australia?
Yeah, well, maybe by the time you guys hear this, it might be too late. No, I'm kidding. No, it's a week after Easter. So that's 2023. In case you guys are listening to it in the future. 2023 mid-April. So
yeah, probably while this podcast is out, Annie will be chilling it up in India.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of, that's our big news. Obviously, it is extremely, extremely sad to let one of our own go, but we are so excited for you, and we will keep you in our prayers every single day.
Please do.
We made agreements that every time we come and visit, we will come and see Annie and give us all of our life updates. So we'll be talking about the podcast.
Be like Marthoma Effect.
But yeah, so you won't see Annie, unfortunately, in our upcoming podcast episodes, but we hope that in God's timing she can be back. But as Sister Annie, or
Manji willing,
yes. But yeah, so that kind of wraps up our podcast for today. As we always say, like and subscribe to all of our YouTube channels and our social media, so you are always up to date with everything that we post.
And please pray for me, my discernment, and my sisters, Little Servants of Divine Providence.
Mm-hmm. So we'll all obviously definitely be keeping you in our prayers forever. But until then, as we say, bye for now, not forever.